March 6th, our Hall of Fame and Shame series, week number 4, I think. 4, yes. Yeah, 4. So this one is on 4 guys: Simon, Andrew, James, and John. And Jesus is calling of them from the book of Matthew. We will remind kiddos that we've talked about Abram and that he was shown righteous by obeying God and leaving Ur under God's instructions without knowing where he was going. And then also when he chose to tithe to Melchizedek, recognizing him as priest. Then we talked about Hannah and her husband Elkanah, and eventually Samuel. Then last week we talked about Esther and Mordecai, and that they lived during a really scary time and how God used each of them. We're going to look at a pretty short passage today, and this lesson is based largely off of Mark's sermon. So we're going to roll with it. Matthew chapter 4, starting at verse 18. One day, Jesus was walking beside the Sea of Galilee. There he saw 2 brothers, Simon Peter and his brother Andrew. They were throwing a net into the lake because they were fishermen. "Come and follow me," Jesus said. "I will send you out to fish for people." At once they left their nets and followed him. Going on from there, he saw 2 other brothers. They were James, son of Zebedee, and his brother John. They were in a boat with their father Zebedee. As they were preparing their nets, Jesus called out to them. And right away, they left the boat and their father and followed Jesus. So Pastor Mark brings out 4 points by asking 4 questions. And so his first point in verse 18 is because they were fishermen. And so the question for us is, who are we? Who am I? They were fishermen, so they were fishing. What am I doing because of who I am? I am a pastor. I am preaching. I am building relationship with children and their families. If you're a soccer player, you're at soccer practice. You're at a soccer game. You're practicing soccer in your yard. If you're a son or a daughter, you're at home together. If you're a friend, then you're in relationship with them and you might be hanging out. So this kind of thing. Who we are is exemplified by what we choose to do with our time. So what are we showing with our time? The next is in verse 20, and it says, "At once." How long did they take to think about it before following Jesus? Mark's point is they had probably heard him at least one time. We know that Andrew's heard him before because it's referred to in other passages, that he invites Simon to come and hear this man. And so they've probably have heard Jesus speak at least once and definitely know his reputation. And so how long did they think about it after Jesus's invite? And so after the invite, it says at once. Again, we don't know how many times they had heard him and been thinking about and pondering what he had been teaching. But we know once they got the invitation, it was immediate. Did they ask any questions? Did they ask for any clarifying information, or but could I, or where are we going? No, they didn't. It just says at once. And then we go to the next few words and it says they left their nets and followed him. And that's kind of where that, did they ask questions? Did they give any pushback or whatever? It says no. They walked away without anything. They dropped their nets, which meant they were all in trusting Jesus to take care of them because they weren't taking the tools of their trade with them. This is how they earned money, was fishing. They didn't take any of their fishing gear with them. So this was just this huge picture example of they were trusting Jesus to provide for them financially, to protect them, that they were going to have a place to stay and to sleep and be safe and have a purpose. And they didn't know what was going to happen. They just knew they were trusting Jesus. And then in the next passage for the next few verses with James and John, in verse 22, it says, they left the boat and their father. So they're actually out in the boat with Zebedee. We don't know how far out. And when Jesus hollers to them and invites them to join him, they get out of the boat right that second and go to Jesus. And it's that picture of they left their family. They left their dad. They left their friends. They left the people that they knew behind in order to obey Jesus. This reminds me of when we moved from Texas to Alaska. We didn't know anybody here. That's not true. We knew Pastor Mark and Miss Von Decay, but none of our family was here, and we hadn't seen them in several years. But this was, God said, go do this. And so we said bye to our family and our friends and moved to Alaska. Some of these kids will have experienced the same thing, that when God says to go, sometimes it's somebody somewhere new. Sometimes it's leave this group of friends and build some new relationships. And maybe you'll be able to join the two, and maybe you won't. Maybe it's leave this sports club and join this other sports club so that you can meet new people. I don't know. But are we willing to go, and are we willing to build the new relationships and give up some of the old, or at least experience some difficulty in maintaining those? I'm still in relationship with my family, but it is more difficult. We don't see them very often. So then Pastor Mark has us looking more specifically to number 1. I am what? Who am I? And then I need to leave this thing. Like they left the tools of their trade. They left their nets and their fishing gear and their stuff to follow Jesus. Then the next one is I need to leave when? Do I need to leave right now? Or does Jesus say, finish school and be ready to go? Does he say, finish the week? What is Jesus telling you? What is the Holy Spirit talking to you about? And then it's, I need to leave. And it's who? Who is God calling you to leave so that you can go to the people he's calling you to? And sometimes he doesn't call you to leave anybody. Sometimes he just calls you to go to somebody. But does that mean they go with you? And is that their call too? Or are you supposed to say, hey, I need to put this on pause so I can go do this God thing? I don't know. So the question is, who are you? Right? And then what is the thing that you need to leave? When do you need to leave it? And who might you need to leave so that you can build new relationships? Kind of deep one. Our application activity is a game, and it's an I am game. It'll be, you can have them scattered out or in a circle, whatever works with the age group you're working with at the time. You're going to throw the ball to a different person each time, so not trying to throw it to the same few kids. When they catch it, they're going to name one of their roles, who they are. I'm a son, I'm a brother, I'm a soccer player, I'm a student, I'm a whatever, I'm a chef. Round 2, after everybody's gone through, is name a way that God can use that role that you have as a brother, as a chef, as a soccer player. What is a way that God can use you in that role to share his love with others? And then 3rd is, what might you need to leave behind? What's getting in the way of you using that role for God? Giving God that. Maybe if you're a soccer player and maybe you're too competitive and you need to let go of winning and focus on playing the game as a good sport. I don't know. So what is it that you need to leave behind that's getting in the way of God using you in that role? And it may be a role that needs to change. Maybe I've played soccer for my entire life and God's saying it's time to leave soccer. It's time to do something different. I don't know. So we're going to be like the 4 guys, Andrew, Simon, James, and John, who obeyed Jesus immediately and went with him without really knowing what was going down. Reminds me of Abram too. So that is today's Bible lesson.